Hi everyone, I'm Matt Chewy. Yeah, that's how it's spelled. I don't know why. If you're watching this video, it probably means you're a subscriber, and you've probably seen me take part in long discussions about Legend of Korra on our talk show KorraCast, or maybe you've seen me talk about movies on a review show, 4 Reels. I've also done some performance art online, made some short films, and I've recently made a name for myself by making roller coaster tycoon videos based on Rebecca Black and Kids Bop. No, that's a real thing. Here, I'll leave links down here for, but you can check them out once you get a chance. But as passionate as I am about film or television, there's one thing that's dominated my soul for many years. Today, I want to talk to you about a little problem I have. This is the story of how Disney ruined my life. Let's take a trip back to the year 1999. So 13-year-old me gets a phone call from my dad who's staying at the Anaheim Hilton for a business meeting. "Matthew, you're never going to believe this," he says. Oh yeah, my parents call me Matthew. "Matthew, you're never going to believe this," he says. "I'm looking out my hotel room and there's all this construction. It looks like they're building another Disneyland." And I'm like, wait, hold on, what? And he's like, "Yeah, there's all these new buildings. It looks like there's a big lake. I can see a huge roller coaster." And I'm like, "Wait, a roller coaster?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the size of Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm." And I'm like, whoa, that's a big coaster. And he's like, "Yeah, and guess what? It's got tunnels, and it's got a big loopity-loop in the shape of a Mickey Mouse." And I was like, "What else can you see?" And he's like, "There's a bunch of new rides, and there's this tall tower thing, and there's a mountain in the shape of a wolf, and a giant orange, and okay, look. I grew up with Disney. I remember going to see all of the Renaissance-era Disney movies in theaters. I remember coloring a coloring page of the genie at the movie theater and the employee putting it up on the wall the day that I saw Aladdin for the first time. I don't know why I remember that. And as a native Southern Californian, I've been going to Disneyland since I was old enough to walk. I remember riding Star Tours for the first time and being like, "Dad, how are we in space? This isn't safe. We're not NASA. You're not being a responsible parent. Why would you take your son to space?" And I remember sitting on my dad's shoulders at 10 p.m., watching Fantasmic for the first time during the summer it premiered, seeing Mickey slay a dragon, and knowing that anything was possible with the power of imagination. So you have to understand that the prospect of Disney building another Disneyland, a sequel to Disneyland, a Disneyland 2, that was just a little too much for my 13-year-old brain to handle, okay? So, and yeah, maybe at the time I was kind of feeling like I was getting a little too old for Disneyland. Maybe I wanted some more thrilling theme park rides like roller coasters, but wait, now you're telling me that Disney is building another Disneyland right next door that has a real roller coaster with drops and tunnels and loops and big kid rides? Okay, let's fast forward about a year. Freshman year of high school, I receive an assignment from my history teacher. Looks like we're all going to be submitting entries to the National History Day Festival. He says it's like a science fair, but for history, and it's going to be a big part of our grade. The key is to pick something you're passionate about, something you really want to learn and dig your teeth into and share with the world, is what he says. Pretty much any topic is fair game as long as there's a story to tell. Now at this point, Disneyland 2 still hasn't opened yet, and I kind of want to know what the deal is. Seriously, what's taking them so long? I don't know why, but this is all I could think about as a freshman in high school. So here's a project where I can research any topic I wanted, and I could make whatever I wanted to show that topic? Alright, well, seeing as I was a big nerd with very few friends, not much has changed by the way, I had become somewhat adept at animating in Flash back when it was Macromedia Flash, and building basic web pages. I know. I'll make a website chronicling the history of Disneyland and its expansion. I bet no one's ever done that, I said to myself, bathed in my own naive optimism. Oh boy. This was the year 2000. We were living in the new millennium, the information age, the digital frontier and all that noise. The internet was just starting to hit its prime, and people were using this newfound tool to connect to each other like never before. So the idea of making a webpage about Disneyland was not only something that already existed, but had evolved into a thriving community of like-minded Disney fanatics, eager to connect and chat and write columns detailing vast histories of Disney and the company and Disneyland and Disneyland 2, or Disney's California Adventure as it would be known. Blogs, websites, chat rooms, message boards, all comprised of like-minded people gathering together to share their common interest of general Disney geekery. I was blown away by this. And the greatest part of it all was I didn't even need to really do any research for my history project. All I had to do was start immersing myself in all this information that was already out there. So, for the following months, that's exactly what I did. Every day I'd come home from school, I'd throw down my backpack, maybe grab a snack, and then I'd go online and I'd click onto 5 or so of my favorite Disney fan sites and I'd read. I would read rumors about what the company was doing in their parks, I'd read set reports for new Disney films currently in production, I'd read history columns on the construction of the parks, the 9 old men, about the different eras of Disney animation, and as I read, my interest grew and grew every day, to the point where I was no longer simply researching for a project at school. No, I was doing this because I was hooked. The history project came and went. It was okay, I guess. My friend Ted and I went to some fancy college and presented our slap-together Flash website in front of a fancy panel of experts, and they didn't really care that much about Disneyland, it turned out. I mean, other than my overly gaudy Flash animated intro, there wasn't much about our project that really bowled over the judges.
I mean, what was wrong with them? Why did they not share my enthusiasm? Did they lack vision? Or was it that maybe I spent more time researching than I actually did working on the damn project? Well, whatever it was, by then, it didn't even matter.
You see, an odd thing happened after the project was finished. I never really stopped doing research for it. Day after day, I would come home from school and find myself logging onto the same Disney blogs, the same fan sites, same message boards, just reading and absorbing as much information as I could, just as I had been doing for the past several months. Only this time, I had no sane excuse as to why I was doing this. And it didn't stop there. I rewatched all the old Disney movies from my childhood, I bought books on the history of the company, and I downed them evening after glorious evening, and eventually, at the end of my senior year of high school, I joined the ranks of Disneyland Annual Pass holder. It was a downward spiral in the truest form of the phrase. And so, it was perhaps the most cruel of ironies that, at the height of my newfound obsession with Disney was perhaps at one of its lowest points ever. I mean, California Adventure opened, and no one really cared. And then Disney started putting out movies that were, well, they were really just kind of embarrassing. I mean, does anyone remember this? And then, in 2004, there was the 1-2 punch of Disney almost losing Pixar, and Disney almost being entirely bought out and absorbed by Comcast in a hostile takeover. Long story short, the world just didn't care about Disney anymore. And this was all at a time when I was really starting to care a whole lot.
So what happened next? Well, that's when I saved Disney. Oh. Well, okay, no, not actually, not real. I wish that's what happened. What really happened next?
Well, I lived my life, I guess. I finished high school, I got a job, I made some friends, I went to college, and I just tried to accept the fact that Disney was never coming back. Still, I kept renewing my Disneyland Annual Pass year after year, long after the pass my parents got me for high school graduation expired. And still, I kept logging onto my favorite Disney rumor sites every day to check on the latest gossip. But this was completely unhealthy behavior. It was like being dumped, but still holding out hope that maybe, just maybe, she'll change her mind and come back to you. I just had to learn to accept things as they were. But let's fast forward again a few more years to the present day. So here I am. I'm a grown-ass man with not much more than a YouTube channel and a brain full of completely useless Disney knowledge. Enough knowledge to teach a university-level course that no one is registering to take. I mean, I could have been using all that time to learn about something useful. Given the years I've spent poring over those websites, I could very well have cured cancer or solved cold fusion or figured out what the hell dark matter is by now. And perhaps when going out with friends on the weekend, I'd have more to talk about than why the Rocket Rods ride closed at Disneyland, or why Planes 2 doesn't actually count in the official canon of Pixar films. But no, what's done is done, I'm afraid. I am who I am. But maybe, just maybe, there's hope for me. You see, somewhat of a miracle has happened in only the last few years, something that I had long since convinced myself I'd never see. Disney has become relevant again. For the first time in over a decade, people are actually excited to see Disney animated films in the theaters. And it's not just animation. The parks are seeing big new exciting attractions open, and hey, remember when Disney bought these guys? Yeah, that's huge! For the first time since the 90s, the company that I've loved for so many years of my life is making things that the world wants to buy, delivering on the promise that it made to me so many years ago, while I sat on my dad's shoulders watching Mickey slay that dragon, that anything is possible with the power of imagination. And whether or not this obsession is healthy for me, I've decided that I like to do something constructive with it. Maybe I can't cure cancer, but maybe I can do something else. Maybe I can educate the masses and give back to the internet. And maybe in doing so, this can be my own form of therapy, a way for me to get over all of this and finally take steps to putting it all behind me and go on living my life as a normal functioning adult. Now seems like the perfect time to do it. You see, I mentioned that I have enough knowledge to teach a class on this subject. Well, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Starting in the spring of 2015, Yum Chunks is going to be diving headfirst into the world of Disney with Mouseology, a brand new series that will explore some of the lesser known and more juicy stories to come from the world of the mouse. Like, why did the Rocket Rods ride close at Disneyland? Did Disney actually hide sexual imagery in their animated movies?
What was the deal with Walt Disney's plan to build an actual working city for real people to live in, and what happened to it? And what did I really think of the movie Frozen? Like, for real. We're going to be looking at all these things and more, so grab your number 2 pencils, your Lisa Frank stationery, and your Mead notebooks because class is about to be in session.
Join me in my quest to help me work through my years and years of personal demons, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two while you're at it.
Mouseology. It's everything you never knew you wanted to know about Disney.